The day the music died, nobody saw it coming. Valara Nexus, lead conductor of the New York Philharmonic, raised her baton for the opening notes of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. The sold-out crowd at Carnegie Hall held its breath in anticipation. But as Valara's arm descended, an eerie silence filled the auditorium. No thunderous chords, no soul-stirring melodies. Nothing. Valara's face contorted in confusion. She tapped her baton against the music stand, but even that produced no sound. The orchestra members looked at each other in bewilderment, their fingers moving across instruments that refused to sing. In that moment of stunned quiet, a low hum began to vibrate through the building. It grew louder, drowning out the panicked whispers of the audience. The enormous chandelier swayed ominously, its crystals tinkling in a surreal, silent dance. Crack! The domed ceiling of Carnegie Hall split open like an eggshell. As debris rained down, a massive obsidian structure descended through the opening. Its surface rippled like oil on water, defying the laws of physics. Valara stumbled backwards off the conductor's platform, her silent scream lost in the chaos. The object, clearly some kind of alien craft, hovered mere feet above the stage. A shimmering portal materialized in its side, and a figure emerged. The being stood over 8 feet tall, with a body that seemed to be composed of interlocking geometric shapes. Its head was a perfect sphere, devoid of any facial features. When it spoke, the words appeared directly in the minds of every human present. Silence is perfection. Noise is corruption. We are the harmonizers. Your world will be cleansed. Across the globe, in every concert hall, nightclub, and karaoke bar, the same scene played out. Music vanished in an instant, replaced by the ominous presence of the harmonizers. KYZX Amplitude, a DJ spinning tracks at an underground rave in Berlin, watched in horror as his equipment went dead. The pulsing beats cut off mid-drop, leaving hundreds of dancers frozen in confusion. Before he could even process what was happening, the warehouse roof peeled away, revealing another looming harmonizer ship. In the neon-lit streets of Tokyo, street performer Rin Echoes strummed frantically at her silent guitar. Passers-by clutched at their ears, as if the absence of sound was more deafening than any noise. A shadow fell over Shibuya Crossing as yet another alien vessel took up position above the city. Within hours, reports flooded in from every corner of the Earth. The harmonizers had arrived simultaneously worldwide, targeting any location where music was being played or performed. Their message was always the same. Silence is perfection. Noise is corruption. We are the harmonizers. Your world will be cleansed. Humanity reeled from the sudden invasion. Governments scrambled to respond, but conventional weapons proved useless against the harmonizers' advanced technology. Any attempt at communication was met with the same monotonous mental refrain. As the first day of silence stretched into a week, then a month, the true horror of the situation became clear. The harmonizers hadn't just silenced music. They'd fundamentally altered the fabric of reality on Earth. No device could produce or record sound. Even the human vocal cords were rendered mute. The world descended into a nightmare of enforced silence. Birds no longer sang. Waves crashed noiselessly against shores. The comforting white noise of civilization vanished, leaving only an oppressive quiet that drove many to the brink of madness. But in the depths of this silent apocalypse, a spark of resistance flickered to life. Dr. Lyra Crescendo, a quantum physicist specializing in sonic harmonics, had long theorized about the existence of quiet energy, a form of soundless vibration that existed outside normal perceptual ranges. In her secret lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, she worked tirelessly to unlock its potential. As the harmonizers tightened their grip on the silent Earth, Lyra made a breakthrough. She discovered that while all known forms of sound production were blocked, there was one instrument so inherently ridiculous that it slipped through the cracks of the aliens' technology. The kazoo. Its simple reed vibration existed in a blind spot of the harmonizer's sound-dampening field. In Lyra's hands, this humble toy became humanity's most potent weapon. She reached out to a network of trusted colleagues and resistance fighters, spreading the word through elaborate hand signals and written messages. Quietly, carefully, a plan began to form. Operation Kazoo Storm was about to begin, and the harmonizers would never know what hit them. As Lyra put the finishing touches on her prototype Quantum Kazoo, amplified by quiet energy, a grim smile played across her lips. The harmonizers thought they'd silence humanity. They were about to learn just how loud humans could be when pushed too far. In the suffocating silence of a world without music, hope vibrated in the most unlikely of places. Beneath the ruins of Detroit's Motown Museum, a secret bunker buzzed with activity. Muted by the harmonizers' technology, the resistance fighters communicated through an intricate system of gestures and facial expressions. At the center of it all stood Zephyr Rhythm, former rock star turned guerrilla leader. Zephyr's fingers danced across a modified synthesizer, its keys rewired to trigger pulses of Dr. Lyra Crescendo's quiet energy. The device couldn't produce audible sound, but it could transmit data. And right now, it was receiving a message that made Zephyr's eyes widen in excitement. He turned to his second-in-command, Aria Flux, and signed rapidly. Breakthrough in the Rocky Mountains. We have a weapon. Aria's face lit up, but her celebration was cut short as the bunker's proximity sensors flashed a warning. A harmonizer patrol was approaching. The resistance fighters froze, hardly daring to breathe. They'd learned early on that while the aliens couldn't hear sound, they were incredibly sensitive to vibrations. Even a racing heartbeat could give them away. Zephyr's mind raced. They needed to buy time for Lyra to complete her work, but staying hidden wasn't enough. They had to fight back. As the oppressive psychic presence of the harmonizers pressed down on them, Zephyr made a decision. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, plastic object, a child's kazoo he'd been experimenting with. Aria's eyes widened in alarm. Using that thing could give away their position instantly. But Zephyr's face was set with determination. He put the kazoo to his lips and blew. The sound that emerged wasn't the tinny hum they expected. Instead, a piercing shriek of quiet energy erupted from the toy, visible as ripples in the air. The harmonizer patrol stumbled, their perfect geometric forms distorting as if viewed through warped glass. Now, Zephyr signed frantically. The resistance fighters sprang into action, armed with an assortment of jury-rigged weapons, slingshots loaded with ball bearings, crossbows firing vibration-dampening bolts, even a few prototype sonic grenades. In the chaos that followed, Zephyr's team managed to incapacitate the harmonizer patrol. As the last alien fell, its spherical head cracking open to reveal a mass of crystalline structures, an eerie silence settled over the bunker once more. Breathing heavily, Zephyr turned to Aria. His hands shook as he signed. It worked. We can fight back. News of the Detroit skirmish spread through the resistance network like wildfire. From the catacombs beneath Paris to the sprawling subway tunnels of Tokyo, pockets of humanity began to arm themselves with kazoos and quiet energy tech. Dr. Lyra Crescendo worked tirelessly to refine her designs. Each iteration of the Quantum Kazoo became more powerful, capable of disrupting the harmonizer's technology on a larger scale. But it wasn't enough to simply drive the aliens away. Humanity needed to reclaim its voice. In a hidden lab beneath the streets of Rio de Janeiro, geneticist Dr. Octavio Cadenza made a startling discovery. By analyzing tissue samples from fallen harmonizers, he found that their biology was fundamentally based on crystalline structures that resonated at specific frequencies. The implications were staggering. If they could find the right frequency, the harmonizer's resonant frequency, they might be able to shatter the aliens' hold on Earth entirely. But to do that, they needed more than just kazoos. They needed an army of musicians, each armed with a specific note in a planet-wide symphony of destruction. Zephyr and Aria coordinated a daring series of raids on music stores and instrument warehouses across the globe. Violins, drums, trumpets, anything that could potentially be modified with quiet energy tech was snatched up and spirited away to resistance strongholds. As their arsenal grew, so did their numbers. Word spread in the silent underground. Musicians were needed for a mission that could save the world. Bass guitarists and opera singers worked side by side with kazoo virtuosos, all training in absolute silence to master their quiet energy instruments. The resistance became a bizarre orchestra, practicing a symphony that existed only in vibrations and shared determination. But time was running out. The harmonizers, shaken by the attacks on their patrols, began to crack down harder. More ships arrived daily, their ominous forms blotting out the sun in major cities worldwide. Noise is corruption, their psychic message boomed with increasing frequency. We will cleanse this world of its cacophony. In the Rocky Mountains, Lyra put the finishing touches on her masterpiece, a device that could amplify and direct the combined power of every quiet energy instrument on the planet. But to use it, they'd need to get close to the harmonizer's main ship. A plan began to form, a plan so audacious, so utterly human in its blend of genius and absurdity that it just might work. Operation Kazoo Storm was about to enter its final, thunderous phase. As Zephyr briefed the assembled resistance leaders on the details of their desperate gambit, a fierce pride swelled in his chest. Humanity had been silenced, but not broken. And soon, they would remind the universe of a fundamental truth. You can take away our voices, but you can never silence the music in our souls. The plan was insane. It was brilliant. It was humanity's last, best hope. Operation Kazoo Storm would begin at dawn. As the first light of day crept over the horizon, resistance cells around the globe sprang into action. In New York, Valara Nexus led her silent orchestra onto the streets, their instruments gleaming with quiet energy tech. In Tokyo, Rin Echoes and her band of street performers emerged from the shadows, armed with souped-up shamisen and taiko drums. And in the heart of London, Zephyr Rhythm stood atop the dome of St. Paul's Cathedral, a modified guitar slung across his chest. At his signal, Aria Flux activated the quantum amplifier hidden within Big Ben. The clock tower shuddered, its internal mechanisms reconfigured to channel quiet energy. A massive, invisible wave pulsed outward, momentarily disrupting the harmonizer's sound-dampening field. For the first time in months, the people of Earth heard a sound. It was a kazoo, playing God Save the King. The harmonizer's reaction was immediate and violent. Their ships descended on London like angry wasps, their psychic screams of silence the corruption, reverberating through every human mind. But Zephyr and his team were ready. As the alien vessels drew close, he struck a power chord on his guitar. The quantum-amplified notes slammed into the lead ship, causing its obsidian surface to ripple and distort. Across the globe, similar scenes unfolded. In Rio de Janeiro, samba drummers pounded out rhythms that sent harmonizer patrols stumbling. In Moscow's Red Square, a massive choir armed with quiet energy megaphones unleashed a wall of sound that cracked the very air. The harmonizers, for the first time since their arrival, seemed caught off guard. Their perfect geometric forms wavered and glitched as they tried to process this unprecedented assault. But the aliens were far from defeated. As the initial shock wore off, they began to adapt. New ships arrived, equipped with more powerful dampening fields. The resistance fighters found their weapons growing less effective by the minute. In the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Lyra Crescendo watched the battle unfold through a network of quantum-entangled sensors. She knew they were running out of time. The final phase of Operation Kazoo Storm needed to begin now. She activated a secure channel to Zephyr's team. "The mothership is descending," her message read. "Rendezvous at Ground Zero. It's time for the crescendo." Zephyr acknowledged the message, then turned to Arya. "Ready for the grand finale?" he signed with a grim smile. Arya nodded, determination etched on her face. They had one shot at this. Everything hinged on getting close enough to the harmonizer mothership to deploy Lyra's ultimate weapon, the Resonance Cascade Amplifier. As battles raged in cities around the world, a small team of elite resistance fighters converged on the coordinates Lyra had provided. It was a nondescript field in the American Midwest, but satellite imagery showed it to be the exact center of the harmonizer's global dampening field. The mothership loomed above, a colossal black monolith that seemed to devour light itself. As Zephyr's team arrived, they found Lyra already there, making last-minute adjustments to a device that looked like a cross between a pipe organ and a particle accelerator. "We've got incoming," Arya signed frantically, pointing to a swarm of smaller harmonizer craft approaching rapidly. Lyra's fingers flew over the resonance cascade amplifier's controls. "Buy me 2 minutes," she signed back. Zephyr nodded grimly. He turned to the assembled musicians, the best of the best, each armed with a quantum-enhanced instrument tuned to a specific frequency. "Let's give them a show they'll never forget," he signed. As one, the Resistance unleashed a barrage of sound unlike anything Earth had ever produced. Kazoos screamed like banshees, violins howled with the fury of 1,000 storms, and drums pounded with the rhythm of the planet's very heartbeat. The approaching harmonizer ships faltered, their sleek forms buckling under the sonic assault. But more kept coming, drawn by the unprecedented display of audio defiance. Lyra worked feverishly, her eyes darting between holographic readouts as she fine-tuned the resonance cascade amplifier. The device hummed ominously, quiet energy crackling along its frame. 10 seconds, she signed urgently. Zephyr turned to his team. "Everything you've got," he shouted silently, his face contorted with effort. The Resistance fighters poured their hearts and souls into one final, desperate crescendo. Kazoos, guitars, drums, and 100 other instruments merged into a single, defiant roar of humanity. At that moment, Lyra slammed her hand down on the amplifier's activation panel. The world went white. A column of pure sound, visible as a distortion in the very fabric of reality, shot upward from the resonance cascade amplifier. It struck the harmonizer mothership dead center, and for a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, with a silent explosion that shook the Earth to its core, the mothership shattered. Crystalline fragments rained down, each one resonating with a different musical note. As they struck the ground, they burst in a shimmering dust that swirled and danced on the wind. Across the planet, harmonizer ships began to fall from the sky, their structures disintegrating into a kaleidoscope of melodic particles. And in that moment of triumph, as the sound-dampening field collapsed entirely, Earth erupted in a chorus of joy, relief, and music. Valara Nexus, conducting her orchestra in Times Square, drew her baton down in a fierce arc. Beethoven's Fifth Symphony thundered to life, its iconic opening notes a declaration of humanity's refusal to be silenced. In the streets of Tokyo, Rin Echoes strummed her guitar with tears streaming down her face, her voice rising in a song of victory that was equal parts laughter and sobs. And in that Midwestern field, surrounded by the glittering remnants of their alien oppressors, Zephyr Rhythm looked at his team, battered, exhausted, but victorious, and spoke the first words heard on Earth in months. "Let's face the music and dance." As cheers erupted and impromptu celebrations broke out around the globe, humanity reveled in the return of sound, of music, of their voices. But amidst the joy, questions lingered. What had driven the harmonizers to such extreme measures? Were there more of them out there in the vast reaches of space? And how would this experience change humanity's place in the cosmos? For now, those questions could wait. Earth had found its rhythm once more, and the song was far from over. In the weeks following Operation Kazoo Storm, Earth pulsed with a renewed vitality. The silence had been shattered, replaced by a symphony of human resilience and innovation. Cities worldwide hosted spontaneous concerts, with professional musicians and tone-deaf amateurs alike reveling in the simple joy of making noise. The air thrummed with laughter, song, and the occasional out-of-tune kazoo solo. But amidst the celebration, a new challenge emerged. The defeat of the harmonizers had left humanity with a wealth of alien technology, and a target painted squarely on its back. Dr. Lyra Crescendo found herself at the center of a global initiative to understand and repurpose the crystalline remnants of the harmonizer ships. Her lab in the Rocky Mountains became a hub of frenetic activity, with scientists from every discipline working around the clock to unlock the secrets of quiet energy and sonic manipulation. "It's not just about defense," Lyra explained to a panel of world leaders via holographic conference. The harmonizer's tech represents a fundamental shift in our understanding of physics. We're talking about FTL communication, gravity manipulation, even the possibility of opening gateways to other dimensions, all through the power of sound. As she spoke, a trio of researchers behind her struggled to contain a pulsating blob of purple energy that seemed to be humming an off-key version of Staying Alive. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not only survived an alien invasion, they'd inherited the keys to the cosmos. But they weren't the only ones who realized this. 6 months after the fall of the harmonizers, a new alien vessel appeared in Earth's orbit. Unlike the obsidian monoliths of their previous visitors, this ship resembled a colossal conch shell, iridescent and softly pulsating. Before panic could set in, a message resonated through every communication device on the planet. Greetings, melodious ones. We are the Symphonians. Your defiance of the silent scourge has echoed across the galaxy. We come seeking alliance, and perhaps a jam session. The response from Earth's governments was cautious, but optimistic. A delegation was hastily assembled, led by the unlikeliest of diplomats, Zephyr Rhythm, the Kazoo-wielding hero of the Resistance. As their shuttle approached the Symphonian vessel, Zephyr turned to his team. Remember, he said, his voice still raspy from disuse. No matter what happens in there, we've got one thing they can't match. Human spirit. Arya Flux, now sporting a mohawk made entirely of tuning forks, rolled her eyes. Just try not to start an intergalactic incident with your terrible puns, she muttered. The interior of the Symphonian ship was a marvel of organic technology. Living walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that seemed to shift in time with the visitor's footsteps. The air itself vibrated with a haunting melody that sent shivers down their spines. They were led to a vast chamber that could only be described as a cosmic concert hall. Tens of thousands of alien beings, each more bizarre than the last, filled the swirling, gravity-defying seats. At the center stood the Symphonian High Council, a quartet of entities that seemed to be composed entirely of undulating sound waves. Welcome, Earthlings, the lead Symphonian intoned, its voice a chorus of harmonic overtones. Your victory over the harmonizers has tipped the balance in a conflict that has raged for eons. The galaxy stands at a crossroads, and you, improbable as it seems, may hold the key to universal harmony. Zephyr stepped forward, pulling his trusty kazoo from his pocket. Well, he said with a lopsided grin, I guess you could say we're here to face the music. Arya's groan was audible even in the vastness of the alien amphitheater. What followed was equal parts diplomatic summit and intergalactic battle of the bands. The Symphonians explained that the universe was locked in an eternal struggle between forces of cacophony and harmony. The harmonizers had been zealots, seeking to impose perfect silence on all of creation. Earth's unique blend of musical diversity and weaponized silliness had created a third way, a chance to bring balance to the cosmic orchestra. As discussions progressed, it became clear that humanity's role in the galaxy was about to change dramatically. The Symphonians offered to share their advanced technology and to induct Earth into a coalition of free worlds known as the Galactic Concordance. In return, they had but one request. Earth must become the center of a new initiative to spread music throughout the universe. A Grand Academy would be established, welcoming beings from across the cosmos to study the art of noise. You want us to teach aliens how to rock out? Zephyr asked, incredulous. The Symphonian High Council rippled in what might have been amusement. Precisely. Your species has demonstrated an unparalleled ability to create, adapt, and weaponize sound. The galaxy needs this knowledge if we are to maintain balance and prevent future harmonizer incursions. As the implications sank in, a mix of excitement and trepidation swept through the Earth delegation. They were being offered a seat at the table of galactic civilization, but at the cost of becoming a beacon for every music-loving, or music-hating, entity in the universe. Zephyr looked at his team, then back at the Symphonians. He took a deep breath, raised his kazoo to his lips, and played a single, triumphant note that echoed through the cosmic amphitheater. Well then, he said with a grin that was equal parts terrified and thrilled, I guess it's time for Earth to get loud. The next few years were a whirlwind of activity as humanity adapted to its new role in the galactic community. The Galactic Academy of Sonic Arts, quickly dubbed Space Juilliard by the press, was established, with campuses on every continent. Alien students flocked to Earth, eager to learn everything from classical violin to death metal screaming. The sight of a six-armed Xernaxian attempting to play a drum solo or a gaseous nebulite learning to beatbox became commonplace in cities around the world. But it wasn't all harmony and light. The threat of the harmonizers still loomed in the dark reaches of space. Earth's new allies warned that the silent invaders were regrouping, gathering strength for another attempt to silence the cosmic symphony. In response, humanity threw itself into the development of ever more powerful sonic weapons. The humble kazoo that had saved the world evolved into the quantum oscillation cannon, capable of reducing entire fleets to melodious dust. As Earth's influence spread throughout the galaxy, so too did its music. Alien civilizations that had never known the joy of a catchy tune found themselves humming human pop songs and headbanging to guitar riffs. In the depths of space, harmonizer scouts reported back to their masters with growing alarm. The humans were not content to simply defend their world. They were exporting their noise to every corner of the cosmos. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of music itself. As humanity prepared for the battles to come, one thing was certain. The universe was about to get a whole lot louder. A decade after Earth's induction into the galactic concordance, the universe thrummed with an energy it had never known before. Human music had spread like wildfire across the cosmos, igniting imaginations and revolutionizing cultures on countless worlds. But with this crescendo of creativity came a shadow of discord. The harmonizers, once thought defeated, have been quietly amassing their forces in the farthest reaches of known space. Their zealotry had only grown more fanatical, their technology more deadly. As reports of silenced worlds trickled in from the galactic fringe, Earth found itself at the center of a storm it had inadvertently created. The time had come for a final confrontation, one that would determine whether the cosmic symphony would continue or be extinguished forever. In the halls of the United Nations Extraterrestrial Council, UNEC, tensions ran high. Zephyr Rhythm, now sporting a shock of silver hair and a cybernetic ear that could pick up frequencies from across the electromagnetic spectrum, addressed the assembled representatives of Earth and its alien allies. "We always knew this day would come," he said, his voice carrying the weight of years spent preparing for this moment. "The harmonizers won't stop until every note, every whisper, every heartbeat in the universe is silenced. But we've got something they'll never understand. The power of a really catchy tune." Groans and chuckles rippled through the chamber. Even in the face of existential threat, Zephyr hadn't lost his terrible sense of humor. Aria Flux, now director of Earth's Sonic Defense Initiative, stepped forward. The holo displays around her flickered to life, showing the full might of the harmonizer armada bearing down on the Milky Way. "Our long-range sensors have detected a weapon of unprecedented power," she reported grimly. "They're calling it the entropy cord, a device capable of unraveling the very fabric of space-time through anti-harmonic resonance. If it reaches full power, it could wipe out not just sound, but all organized matter in the galaxy." The chamber erupted in panicked murmurs. Zephyr raised a hand for silence, then turned to Dr. Lyra Crescendo, who had been furiously scribbling equations on a floating holopad throughout the briefing. "Please tell me you've got something up your sleeve, Doc," he said, a hint of his old roguish grin breaking through the tension. Lyra looked up, her eyes gleaming with the manic energy that had driven her to push the boundaries of sonic science for the past decade. "Oh, I've got something all right," she said, "but you're not going to like it." She tapped her holopad, and a schematic materialized in the center of the chamber. It looked like a monstrous pipe organ merged with a particle accelerator, wrapped around a miniature black hole. "I give you," Lyra announced with a flourish, "the omniphonic resonator. It's designed to tap into the fundamental frequency of the universe itself, the cosmic background radiation left over from the Big Bang. If we can amplify that primordial song, we might just be able to overwhelm the entropy chord and shatter the harmonizer's technology once and for all. A hush fell over the chamber as the implications sank in. They were talking about weaponizing the birth cry of the universe itself. There's just one catch, Lyra continued, her voice dropping. To generate enough power, we'll need to channel the combined musical energy of every sentient being in the galaxy. I'm talking about a simultaneous performance on a scale never before attempted in the history of, well, anything. Zephyr let out a low whistle. So, what you're saying is, we need to get the whole galaxy to sing along. Lyra nodded. Precisely. One song, one voice, echoing across the cosmos. It's our only shot. For a moment, the chamber was silent. Then, from the back, a small voice piped up. It was Melody, Zephyr's 10-year-old daughter, who had snuck into the meeting out of curiosity. What about We Will Rock You? She suggested, her eyes wide with innocent determination. Zephyr turned to her, confusion etched on his face. The old Queen song? Why that one? Melody shrugged. It's got a beat anyone can follow, even aliens with weird appendages. And the lyrics are pretty much about not giving up, right? Isn't that what we need? A slow smile spread across Zephyr's face. He looked at Arya, then Lyra, then the assembled galactic representatives. One by one, heads began to nod in agreement. Well, Zephyr said, scooping up his daughter and placing her on his shoulders, I guess we've got our battle anthem. Let's rock this universe. What followed was the most ambitious undertaking in the history of music. As the harmonizer fleet approached, every communication channel in the galaxy was commandeered to spread the word. The plan was simple, yet monumentally complex. At a precise moment, every being capable of making sound would join in a galactic rendition of We Will Rock You. The omniphonic resonator was constructed in record time, a joint effort of the finest scientific minds from 100 worlds. It was positioned at the heart of the Milky Way, drawing power from the supermassive black hole at the galaxy's center. As the day of reckoning approached, an eerie calm settled over the cosmos. Billions of beings, from every corner of the galaxy, waited with bated breath for the signal to begin. Zephyr stood at the control center of the resonator, surrounded by his old team and a cadre of alien allies. Lyra's fingers danced over the controls, making last-second adjustments. Arya kept her eyes glued to the tactical displays, watching the harmonizer fleet draw ever closer. It's time, Lyra announced, her voice tight with tension. Zephyr nodded, then pressed the broadcast button. His voice rang out across the stars. People of the galaxy, sentient beings of all shapes and sizes. Let's make some noise. And with that, the greatest concert in cosmic history began. The iconic stomp-stomp clap of We Will Rock You started as a ripple, then swelled to a tsunami of sound. Humans and aliens alike pounded on whatever surfaces they could find, their voices raised in a defiant chorus. On countless worlds, the ground shook with the rhythm. In the void of space, starships vibrated with the force of the music. Even the harmonizer fleet faltered as the wave of sound washed over them. At the heart of it all, the omniphonic resonator hummed to life. It caught the galactic song and amplified it, weaving in the deep throb of the cosmic background radiation. The combined force of it all coalesced into a beam of pure sonic energy that lanced out toward the approaching entropy chord. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, the two forces clashed in the void. The entropy chord's anti-harmonic wail battled against the primal rhythm of a universe that refused to be silenced. Then, with a flash that outshone supernovae, the entropy chord shattered. The harmonizer fleet, caught in the backwash of cosmic sound, began to disintegrate. Their ships crumbled into crystalline dust that glittered like stars against the backdrop of space. As the last echoes of the galactic song faded, a new sound filled the cosmos. Cheers of jubilation from billions of throats, a spontaneous chorus of joy and relief. In the control room of the omniphonic resonator, Zephyr pulled his team into a group hug, tears streaming down his face. "We did it," he whispered. "We really did it." Melody, still perched on her father's shoulders, looked out at the sea of stars with wonder in her eyes. "Does this mean we saved music?" she asked. Zephyr chuckled, squeezing his daughter's hand. "No, kiddo. Music saved us." As news of the victory spread, celebrations erupted across the galaxy. On Earth, impromptu concerts sprang up in every city, with humans and aliens alike joining in a cacophonous celebration of life and sound. In the days that followed, the full impact of what had transpired began to sink in. The defeat of the Harmonizers had not just saved the galaxy, it had fundamentally changed it. The shared experience of cosmic karaoke had created bonds between species that diplomacy never could. New forms of music began to emerge, blending human rhythms with alien harmonies in ways that defied traditional musical theory. The Galactic Academy of Sonic Arts expanded into a network of institutions dedicated to exploring the infinite possibilities of sound. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, the dust of the defeated Harmonizer fleet began to coalesce. But this time, instead of forming ships of silence, it swirled into eddies that hummed with a gentle melody, a lullaby for newborn stars. As for Zephyr, Aria, Lyra, and the rest of the Earth team that had started it all with a simple kazoo, they found themselves elevated to the status of galactic legends. Songs were written about their deeds, their names etched into the annals of cosmic history. But for Zephyr, the greatest reward was the sound of his daughter's laughter as she played with alien friends, the music of 100 worlds blending into a joyful chorus in their backyard. The universe had faced its greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but forever changed. In the end, it wasn't weapons or technology that had saved them all. It was the simple, unstoppable power of a really good beat. And as new civilizations arose and ancient ones evolved, as stars were born and galaxies collided, one constant remained. The music played on,